Nigel Abbott, SME TV success stories. Well, here I am at the Four Pines Brewery in Brookvale, Sydney, and I'm actually completely blown away with this place. It is so much bigger than what I anticipated, and I'm joined by one of the founders, Jaron Mitchell.
Hey Nigel, how are you?
Good, mate, and thank you so much for letting us come in here to your establishment.
An absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and he is the Chief of
Beer Chiefs, Nigel.
Chief of Beer Chiefs, and what a title.
Yeah, well, listen, being a brewery, something like a Chief Executive Officer or something like that sounds a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
And all the guys that sort of run our different areas, be that, for example, our sales guy, he's the Chief Beer Lover.
Yeah.
The lady that runs our HR, community, culture, it's actually called Community and Culture, we call it.
Fantastic.
But she's the Chief of Community and Culture.
Yeah.
We've got a Chief of Hospitality.
Yeah.
We've got a Chief Brewer.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that I'm the Chief of Beer Chiefs, really.
Sounds like it's actually perfect for you. Now, let's go back, let's backtrack. Little bit of history. How did the sort of pub brewery come about? And just explain, give me some insight.
Yeah, simple story. It's that old story sometimes that maybe a father and son or two friends or whatever it might be, that moment where someone asks someone else a question and then years later you kind of act on it. So in this case it was my old man and I, originally from WA, my parents still live in Western Australia.
Yep.
And the beer scene, this is back in 2006, it's kind of a lot more developed over there,
yeah.
Whereas Sydney was a bit of a wasteland when it came to beer. And yeah, so my old man was over visiting. We went for a surf up the northern beaches of Sydney. We're sitting there having a pie at Coleroy, and he leans across and he says, "Okay, so where do we go get a decent beer?" And I sort of turned back and said, "Well, there is no decent beer in Sydney, you know." So we kind of tic-tac back and forth, and then it's like, well, why isn't there? Let's do it. Let's start a microbrewery, you know. And it was just one of those flippant comments that could have ended by the time we finished the crust of the pie.
Yeah.
But for some unknown reason, I took a hold of it and sort of ran with it, and ultimately the purpose, I suppose, and the reason we're here is because if we thought we couldn't get a decent beer, then surely no one else could. Yeah. So we almost took it upon our responsibility to bring, decent beer to the people of, well, first Manly, the northern beaches, Sydney, and now Australia. And we're pretty obsessed by it, and sharing that obsession and really creating a beer brand and now two venues that are absolute of choice for our customers.
So why Manly first, and what about the Four Pines Brewery? How did that name come about?
So obviously Manly, and originally all we ever intended to be was just a brew pub in Manly. Yeah. That was the little 500 litre brewery that made all the beer for the pub. Yeah. That would have solved our original problem of where do we go get a decent beer. Yeah. And we wanted to do that and deliver it through a great kind of hospitality space experience. Yeah, experience, perfect word. And so we didn't want to go for Manly Brewing Company. We thought, well, it's a bit naff. It's a bit sort of something like Mitchell Brewing Company, you did that 150 years ago, aka Coopers, which is great, but it wasn't. And then we said, well, what's synonymous with Manly, but isn't kind of, I suppose, like
too front and centre.
Yeah, exactly, front and centre, or a little bit naff, as I said. Yeah. So we went, well, Norfolk Pines, that's perfect, So, and then so we, Norfolk Pines. Really synonymous with Manly. They line the harbour, they line the beachfront, makes total sense. And then eventually there was this story in World War II. In 1942, blah, 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 4 pines were cut down from the beachfront in Manly and replaced with machine gun emplacements to protect the shores of Australia. Yeah. Because at the time there was, Japanese midget subs in the harbour, Darwin was under attack. Yeah. There was actually this proper, fear, and it went all the way back locally to Manly, where 4 pines were cut down from the beachfront, replaced with machine gun emplacements, blah, blah. And we just looked at each other and went, we've come up with this name, we didn't actually know the story. Yeah. It's got that local Manly kind of origin, but it's also got a nice flavour that I think resonates for people all around Australia.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Anyway, so you obviously got to a point where you started to grow and you went from just having the pub to actually this huge brewery now. So at what point, and what was the sort of catalyst for you to then jump into that?
it's one of those things where we've had a vision what we wanted to do, as far as that purpose that we always come back to. Where do we go get a decent beer? Well, why can't we have one? We want to share that obsession with a whole bunch of people now.
Yeah.
And originally it was just the brew pub, and that's all we ever wanted to be, just this little brew pub in Manly. We thought that would be us done. And it would have literally been on the second day that we opened, and we opened in June, that one of our customers came up to the bar and said, okay, so what are you doing for Melbourne Cup in November? And we're like, whoa, we might not be open then. We might have closed down. And the only reason I tell that story is our customers have always been ahead of us.
Yeah.
Like, they've always just been, I guess they're not stuck in the day-to-day, which is great. And so they're just that little bit ahead. And one of those questions that came to us was, okay, I love what you're doing. Chuck it in a bottle and a six-pack. I want to take it home. So we did that. And the original intention was just to whack it in our little fridge as you walk up the stairs at the front of our brew pub, just for our regulars to take home afterwards or on the weekend or whatever it might be. And then one of the local bottle shops said, well, we want some. And then another bottle shop said, well, we want some. And then before I knew it, me and my brother were literally hand delivering cases of beer out of the back of a ute, kegs, blah, blah, around Sydney, we suddenly had 100 customers before we sort of even knew it, really. Then to do that, we're going to build a bigger brewery now. And, so we built a bigger brewery, and this brewery is now about to go through its fourth expansion, and fourth kind of major expansion. And so it's just a journey. And I think in business, like there's great ideas, there's execution, there's hard work, but you can't underestimate timing either. And I think that window where we managed to secure finance was really good. And from almost day one, the business performed very well, and the business has continued to perform very well, despite the fact that it's very, very capital intensive. And just without boring the viewers, there's a cash flow gap in our business and it's basically a legislated cash flow gap, government excise tax, that I don't think would exist in any business from a legislative point of view, unless you really hocked yourself with with one of your suppliers or your customers or something like that. But basically, because of that, it's cash flow intensive, it's capital intensive. We've just managed to balance along the way the combination of retained earnings, good bankers who have sort of been prepared to up our level of debt as we've gone.
Terrific. Well, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nigel.
Look, I mean, there's some incredible insights there, not just from running a brewery, but from running a business. And it's terrific to listen to that journey and see that this business, I would categorise them as truly successful in their space. Nigel Abbott, SME TV. See you next time.